Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness. This is episode 124.
Welcome to another week of Let's Be Well Together. I'm Noura Saad, and I'm here with John Webster. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Noura?
I'm good. John, what's on your mind this week?
It's always fun when we have new co-hosts because I can tell you still have that kind of cool energy. I'm just, eventually we all get just so used to it,
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, what's on my mind? Well, we are trying to think about things to talk about. And one thing you mentioned was the difference between happiness and contentment. Mm-hmm. And that has me wondering where that came from. What do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. I was with a friend of mine over the weekend, and they asked me, if I was happy in where I'm at in life. And I remember, we always get those questions asked, and there's always these hacks and stuff about how to be happy on your day to day. And I remember my response to her was, I might not be 100% happy, but I'm content. And I was so content with that answer and had conviction in it that I think she got the message. But yeah, it stayed with me this week.
So what would it take to move you a little off content and more towards happiness? What are some of the things you'd be thinking about?
To be honest, John, when I really think about it, the idea of happiness is not when I get somewhere or when I attain this. I think it's for me, at least, it's just genuinely a state of mind. I can be happy to be sitting and just having my cup of tea in the morning or, watching, the birds outside. It doesn't take much. So I think for me, just being more intentional and present in my day, those are small things for me that helps me make me a bit more happy.
Well, the reason I kind of latched onto this was because one of the reasons I had my breakthrough has to do with happiness and realizing that that's not my goal.
Sure.
And people are like, what do you mean? And the way I look at it, so as you know, I talk about 8 different categories of wellness. And to me, happiness falls mostly within the mental health side of things. And it's more of an emotional state. And it's not everything. For example, I think more about mental wellness and that kind of emotional wellness as having a balanced set of emotions and reacting appropriately in different life situations. And so, for example, when something bad happens in my life, I shouldn't be happy.
Yes.
The natural reaction will be that I feel something else. So I really kind of see happiness as this smaller piece of a much bigger puzzle that I call well-being. Mm-hmm. And the other problem I ran into, and it really started opening up the doors of my imagination, was I realized that I was using happiness to hide my problems. And doing that, I was preventing myself from becoming well. It's very interesting, this. And I guess contentment maybe can do that too. If you're content, do you move forward?
Yes. There's that's why it stayed with me this week, because you're absolutely right, John. Like, where is that fine balance between, contentment and then really getting yourself out of your comfort zone, which, sometimes that pursuit of happiness is sometimes it's also getting out there and doing the things that are sometimes painful and scary. But at the same time, there's an inner type of satisfaction because we did it, right? And those I find brings kind of jolts of happiness within ourselves. So yeah, it's quite interesting to think about.
But contentment, to me, it doesn't sound great. Contentment is like, it's all right.
Fair enough. Yep.
It could be better, but it could be worse. I'm okay. And that doesn't really seem to be getting kind of towards overall well-being so much. It's just like, I don't know. Do you think it stops you from trying to push through some of the harder things and make the breakthroughs you need?
Sometimes, absolutely. I think how I interpreted the question this week was, given the state of where our world is, and even in our own community, in our own region, we see it, right? There's quite a lot of struggle. And how I interpreted the question is I'm thankful for where I'm at in life. I have a home, I have food, I have a job and those things. And I think that's where I was coming at it from. But you're absolutely right, John. Sometimes taking that leap and getting out and pushing ourselves is what's required in order to get to that next level or that next stage in life. So yeah, sometimes contentment can't always be on our side.
Oh man, you're really hitting on some points, because as we're recording this, it doesn't matter what the events are, but there have been some really crummy events in the last little while, and turns of events. And I have to admit, I'm pretty despondent about kind of the whole situation, and combined with feeling a helplessness that regardless what I do in my life, it's not going to make any difference to these issues that are going on mostly in other countries. But and then you wonder, you know, do you deserve to be well? Do you deserve to be happy in a situation where the whole world seems to be falling apart at times? Especially because I think social wellness is also very important. And then I don't know, is it a duty? Is it an inclination? We want to help others. Yep. Because if we can live in a world that's, for example, peaceful, we can have more enjoyment within that peaceful world. So, you know, and the other thing is I don't have an answer, right? Like I don't have a magic answer. I'm struggling, but I'm also still trying to do my best to work on the things I can.
Absolutely. And I think that's just it. We don't always have to have the answer, and the answer might look different at different stages. Yeah, I'm with you. I like that we came to that conclusion, John, because you're absolutely right. I don't have the answer either. So,
although, you know, even a lot of the people, you know, there's some people, downtrodden people right now, and the message that comes from them is don't do nothing, do something. And I think that's still a really good message. And, you know, in our way, even on the podcast to a small degree, we're trying to share some messaging on how people can move towards well-being. And I think also talking about some of these issues is good, because honestly, what I've been doing is just sticking them in some compartment as deep in my mind as I can and wishing that they'd go away. But maybe talking about it at least helps us move forward. Maybe it helps us brainstorm, process. You're right. Let's come back to this discussion about these concepts of happiness and contentment. Do you see them as being related? Are they things that happen at the same time? Are they pushing against each other? How do you see it?
I think they can happen at the same time. I think a person, well, for myself, I could see myself be content and happy with the small things. However, I could also see them be opposite of each other at times, because, you know, when we're too content, when we're too comfortable, you know, it could hold us away from really pushing ourselves forward, right? Especially when there's that little voice inside of you that says, do it, you know, go for it, try the thing. And I don't. I think that's when feelings of regret can come up, and then ultimately, you know, the happiness gets sucked out as well. So, yeah.
To me, when I hear content, especially if it's content with an asterisk, you know, I'm content, but to me, that's just one of the signs, and one we should watch out for. And I often talk about my wellness check-in. That's a sign that it's time to check in, because if you're having that caveat, the asterisks, or you're thinking I'm content, there's probably something missing.
Yes.
What is it? It's there, but maybe because you're content, you're not digging to find out what that is that's missing. So that might actually be a good sign of a time to do a wellness check-in. And so then, you know, on my theory, as you know, there's these different areas of wellness, and I think about them. How am I doing in my social life? How am I doing in my intellectual life? What about spiritual? What about physical? And so, you know, it's very interesting, this whole concept of contentment. I never really thought about it before, but it might be a good catalyst for thoughts for change and introspection.
Absolutely. Especially introspection. Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is in the categories of social and mental wellness. Last week, we got to meet Caitlin Roth through her parents. Caitlin was a vibrant young woman who sought joy in life, but sadly, she died from mental illness. Mike and Fiona Roth are working very hard to stop this from happening to others. They started Filling in the Gaps organization. Welcome, Mike and Fiona.
It's nice to be back.
Nice
Thank
to
you
be back,
for having
John.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Fiona has been a social worker for 25 years. She's worked in the children's mental health field for her entire career, and she's committed to a community where anyone struggling with mental health is met with hope and compassion at every stage of their journey, and where no one falls through the cracks. Mike has been a registered kinesiologist for more than 27 years. He's treated and managed multidisciplinary healthcare clinics in the community and is currently supporting employees returning to work from occupational and non-occupational injuries. Caitlin faced many barriers to receiving continuity of care. Fiona and Mike are passionate about making sure the difficulties that their family faced in finding services for Caitlin do not happen to anyone else. Like you, Mike and Fiona, I believe mental diseases just like other diseases, such as diabetes and cancer. And we share the belief that mental health and physical health should be treated the same and without stigma. It's inspiring that you're working to help other families who might be facing the same challenges that you and Caitlin faced. So let me start by asking, what do you hope to accomplish with Filling in the Gaps organization?
Well, like it says, we're hoping that it fills in the gaps where the gaps are needed. There are supports out in the community, obviously, but there are also a lot of gaps out there. And unfortunately, Caitlin, our daughter, fell through the cracks. So our organization is trying to raise funds and awareness of mental health to start new programs or fund new initiatives that we felt Caitlin could have used, but that are currently not in our community.
I had a look at your website, fitg.org, and there's a mention there of using a trauma-informed and strength-based approach. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, so what that means is when we look at individuals, instead of saying, what's wrong with you, we look at them and say, what happened to you? And we use a really compassionate lens with them. And so there's two areas to look at. One is the environment, creating an environment that is not institutional, that's not re-triggering, that we're not asking people questions that might trigger them, that we have a really more of a holistic wellness-based environment. That's the one piece. But also training staff so that they're coming across and using questions that are not going to trigger, that are not going to be judgmental, and that are going to come across as very compassionate and kind. We say that because we really want to advocate that our frontline staff are our best resource, and they work really hard, but we have to make sure that they are trained. And we're advocating that they're trained in a trauma-informed lens.
Because unfortunately, in some of Caitlin's care, that wasn't always the case. Mm-hmm. So part of our advocacy is actually reaching out to healthcare providers, hospitals, making sure the staff is being able to get a training in that fashion.
And who are some of the people that your organization is trying to help?
We're trying to help, in particular, transitional age youth that are 18 and over, because that's where we really found the gaps, and young people and adults who are in between services. So they might be discharged from the hospital, but they're waiting 6 months to a year for a service, for example. We're trying to kind of build up their support so that they're not left without anything, that they have a service that they can use or a support person that can visit them, that they're just not left alone.
Some of the funds that have been collected on behalf of Caitlin have gone towards that. So,
like a position, a case manager position.
Yeah. So when someone's discharged from the hospital, the case manager follows up with that person, makes sure, how are things going, gets them connected with the proper resources. And that was one of the things, unfortunately, Caitlin never experienced when she was discharged from the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Just from personal experience, it's interesting you mentioned that age. So another example of an age that seems really susceptible to stress, anxiety, and other things is kind of your first year at university as well. That's where I've seen a lot of issues.
Yeah, and you know what, that I think is increasingly seen as an at-risk age, 18 to 25. Like there's just so many changes that often these are young people moving away from home. Their brains are still developing, and so many decisions they have to make. They're still teenagers and kids in a way, but they're put in this adult world. So there's a lot of exciting things that are happening, but it can be they're definitely high risk for mental illness. Too. Very overwhelming.
We always joke or not joke, but I always say our extended health benefit plans carry you on until you're 25 if your child's going to school. So they still recognize that they still need support, they still need help, and they could be at home. But in the outside world, when you're going for medical care, you're 18, you're an adult, and you're on your own. That's what we felt.
So imagine somebody who's in that age group and they're experiencing either mental health disease or illness or something of that nature. What are some of the barriers and obstacles they face when they reach out for help?
Yeah, so some of it could be just not knowing where to go. And there's a really great initiative called Youth Wellness Hubs that are starting in various communities in Ontario, where it's like a mix of recreational services for youth, and it's also mental health services, and they're for 12 to 25-year-olds. So some of it's just not knowing where to go or maybe having a stigma. But when they do go, they're just facing what we experience, long wait lists, or they go and they just didn't feel like they got the care they were hoping to get. So those are the barriers that we're really trying to advocate for, that there's a sense of hope and compassion, no matter where you're going, no matter who you asked, that you're just left with this sense of hope. Okay, I did the right thing. I asked for help and I'm going to get the service I need.
I imagine there's a pretty steep learning curve if you're an organization trying to help in this area. Are you learning about ways that you might be able to help? And what are some of the ways the organization is working on in that regard?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a steep learning curve. But again, we've been very fortunate to be connected with people who've been willing to teach us and learn along with us. We're applying for charitable status right now. We're not for profit, but we're applying for charitable status right now. But through our organization, through our Fiona and I advocacy, along with a lot of people in the community who's helped us, we had Catherine Fife, MP, helped us with the petition. So we garnered 7,000 signatures, and we presented that at Queen's Park. We were fortunate to meet with Minister Tobolo, Provincial Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, 3 times now, one-on-one visits. We met with the Federal Minister of Mental Health 3 times, one-on-one again, to share our concerns. And we were fortunate that they asked us to send our recommendations to the Senate. So our recommendations have gone to the Senate. So we just feel so fortunate that just through weird connections and just always saying yes. That's one thing we've learned, is just if someone says, would you like to? We always say yes, because you don't know what that door is opening. So, yeah, it's been a big, steep learning curve, but we feel very heartened already to see some changes being made. And we're saying Caitlin's made those changes, because it's on behalf of Caitlin that these changes are occurring.
So just to let some of our listeners know a little bit about some of the people you're talking about, people who listen to this from other countries. So Ontario is a province in Canada. Ontario is a level of government that does a lot of work with healthcare. They probably have most of the responsibility for healthcare, but Queen's Park is Ontario, and also Canada, federal. They also have a role to play, and they can help. And so when you talk about some of the changes, what headway are you making so far, and what headway do you hope to make in the kind of near future?
One of the biggest things, I'll talk from a federal level, which we noticed, it's interesting. And once you are focused on something, or something's happened to you, everything sticks out. So in the paper we read, the government's giving $5 billion to the provinces for mental health initiatives. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And this is like 2-3 years ago. And then I read the whole article, top to bottom. And then I get to the bottom of the article and it says, however, the provinces can do what they see fit with that money. We're recommending mental health, but they can put it towards anything. So when we met with the federal minister of mental health, we brought this up and they said, yes, we agree. We understand. We don't know where that money went last time. But this round, there's going to be strings attached. And we saw that in the last budget that came out. Funds are coming, but there are strings attached. It's for mental health, not just for the global pot, because mental health has been significantly neglected, in our opinion, for funds. That I can say from a federal level, we saw that change happening, and just more and more, they just promoted $500 million in funding for youth and hopefully transitional ages. We're advocating again to make sure it's from 18 to 25. So we've seen that. We've seen local changes at our local hospital. There's been paint. It just sounds funny, but little things from paint to plants to paintings in the wards, more recreational opportunities, more people providing recreational opportunities as well, more staff. Bit by bit, we're getting there. It's a slow-moving ship. Hopefully we feel to change the rudder in the right direction.
I know things changing to learn more, but from what you know right now, do you have any sense of what some of the facilities or the organizations or the resources that could be made available in the community that might help?
I think that the initiative that's going to be coming to our local area, the crisis clinic, is a really great initiative.
It does sound great.
And that they already have the facilities. So really what they're needing to do is just build up their staff capacity, which they're working on, so that youth wellness hubs, which I talked about, like that is something that's another great initiative that's already started in some cities. So I think a lot of it is just a shift in the philosophy. And the more the shift in philosophy changes to community-based services, and then I think we'll see some of that capacity build up, which we're starting to see. Multidisciplinary teams, these crisis clinics, outpatient services, because that's where the treatment really needs to be, I think.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we promoted with the petition that went forward to Queen's Park. I'll just give a quick example of what happens. So currently, if someone's called and they're in crisis and the ambulance is called, they would take the patient to the hospital, local hospital. That ambulance driver cannot leave until that patient has been seen and has a bed. And we found that can be up to 24 hours. So that means that ambulance is out of commission for 24 hours. And we didn't realize this until we started going on some committees. So the one stat that we heard, they have a pilot of this crisis clinic in another location, and the handoff time was 20 minutes, which means the person was dropped off, and within 20 minutes, that person was, we call it the warm handoff to the person doing the assessment, and then that ambulance is off to go help another person. So just costs alone, if you've ever been in the ER and wait there for 12 to 14 hours, and you don't have a mental health illness, you're getting agitated by the end of that. But if you're coming in with a mental health illness and you're sitting in the waiting room for 12, 14, 16 hours, not eating, not sleeping because of lights and noises, it doesn't set up anybody for success. Well, the staff who are assessing and doctors who are seeing and the patient that was there.
That difference in time for the ambulance driver, that's nothing short of amazing if this works the way we hope.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And now, how can regular people like me and some of our listeners, how can we help people experiencing mental health illness or help achieve your organization's goals?
You know what? There was, I think, some simple things. Like there was our local CMHA, Canadian Mental Health Association. They had a mental health weekend. It was just called Be Kind. And I think that's where it starts. I think it really needs to be seen as a disease. And we see there's people who will wear a suit to work and look like they have it all together, but they're struggling with depression possibly. And there's people you're going to see on the streets who may look mentally ill, but they're struggling as well. So you can hide it really well, but let's start with kindness and compassion. That's where it starts. These people are struggling. As far as how people can help individually, I think just being in regular conversation with your local MPPs, they're the ones who are going to fight for Ontario healthcare, and keep the conversations going. Ask them about these community crisis clinics, ask about youth wellness hubs, ask what's happening with our community care for treatment, what's happening with transitional age youth, where are the services. Those are the kind of things you can do individually if you want to continue to advocate with your local MPP.
And if funds allow and permit, and you feel so inclined, if people would donate to our organization, all the funds are going back. There's no staff members on it. It's all going back to all volunteers, going back to the community. 2 years ago, we started a memorial basketball tournament in Caitlin's honor. And this past year, we added a speaker. So the funds that were donated helped to fund a speaker who was a motivational speaker and was able to speak to 1,200 students. I've never seen something like this. I used to go to high school, but you have to imagine there was 2 assemblies of 600 students each in each assembly, and all 600 students were quiet. You couldn't hear a pin drop, because I think it resonated with them. That, and the messaging was, you are needed, you are loved, you have hope. It was all positive, but we were able to give that to 1,200 students who are now going to go on with that, an extra tool in their tool belt, I call it. And there's 100 of the athletes from all over Ontario who are part of the tournament got to hear it as well. That's where the funds are going towards: mental health awareness, mental health, strengthening people's toolboxes, and just filling in the gaps, as it says.
Well, a couple things off what each of you said. So first with Fiona, I love that message about be kind. It also reminded me, I took a course called Mental Health First Aid Training, offered by the Mental Health Commission of Canada. And another thing people can do is what's called non-judgmental active listening. And that's just something right now you can click into your computer and look it up, and you'll get lots of information.
Yeah.
And Mike, I'll be sure to put fitg.org, that website, in a link so people can look at our show notes and touch that, and hopefully you get some support. This is absolutely amazing. I just wish you guys the best of luck and hope that the community fully supports and we start seeing lots of changes. As I said many times, this is an area, a topic that's really close to my heart. So thank you both for all the hard work you're doing.
Well,
and here we are. Here we are at the end of the interview. And as you know from last time, we ask every guest the same question in the context that we all have areas of wellness that are important to us, but not enough time to keep them all going at any given time. So, Mike, you're on the hot seat tonight.
I got the hot seat, yeah.
Are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing you can do to foster wellness in that area?
You know what? I was excited when I heard that you asked these questions. And I was more excited that Fiona got to go first on the first interview. But you know what? I think it's a really, really good question to ask ourselves daily or weekly. And until I heard the question to Fiona, I was like, what would I say? What am I going to say? I say that exercise. My background is kinesiology, so exercise is something that I am passionate about. And exercise shows it's like it can be the best mood enhancer. It can be the best stress reliever. It's so simple. It's so easy. And I fail at it sometimes. Meaning, I plan on doing it, 3 to 5 times a week, and you get 1 or 2 because life goes on. But Fiona and I have intentionally been trying to, keep the wellness regime going. And I think both of us help, spur each other on. And I can say for myself a bit, it's an honor, Caitlin, because we just feel that we just want to be our best selves that we can be. And by doing that is just taking care of ourselves through exercise. Well,
you can see kind of in my background there that I've got on one side of me the wheel with 8 categories of wellness I'd like to think about. On the other side is my book cover, and really physical exercise is what turns it all around for me. And it's had such a difference in both my mental health and every area of wellness. So I think it's a great idea what you're doing. And I think it's a great way to honor. And I wish you the best of luck with it. And so again, thank you guys for 2 amazing interviews. I've learned so much and I'm so inspired, and I'm so grateful for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe we can come back someday and hopefully we can talk about all the things that are changing in our region.
I would love to have you guys back with some good news. So anytime.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of the Adventures of the Starving Artist. So I'm recording away from home today. I'm actually house and cat sitting for some friends, so I apologize if you hear my man Bob in the background. He's a little talkative right now, singing away. He knows better than to ask to be let outside, but he's trying anyway, so I commend his persistence. But what I wanted to share with you, actually, is one of the things I've been doing is playing with reharmonization. In music, harmony is the stuff that supports the melody, so it's your backing chords and whatnot. Reharm is short for reharmonization. And I've touched on this before in an earlier segment ages ago. But what you can do is take an uninterrupted or unchanged melody and completely change the harmony underneath it, and it gives you an entirely different feel. The whole mood of the song can change. One of the best examples that I like to use when I'm teaching this concept is a song that I'm sure you're familiar with. It's John Lennon's Imagine. When I was at school, I was in a band that did a cover of that song by a band called A Perfect Circle, which you may also know, and they reharmonized that to be very minor and spooky. And so this dreamy imagine all these beautiful things, imagine, turns into a sort of dark and stormy mood. It was pretty cool. But what I wanted to share with you today is one I was jamming through yesterday. I was just strumming along on my guitar, warming up before a gig, and I was finger-picking through an arrangement that I play sometimes of the Rolling Stones' Beast of Burden. And I decided to try and reharmonize it just a little bit. And it's pretty sweet, so I just want to share it with you quick. Here's what it sounds like. I'll never be your beast of burden. Like it's broad, but it's a hurting end. All I want is for you to make love to me. And now the reharm. beast of burden. I've walked for miles, my feet are hurting, and all I want is for you to make love to me. Am I rough enough? Am I hard enough? Am I rich enough? I'm not too blind to see. So, hopefully you can hear that the chords are very different from the original in there. I just thought it was a really neat tune to try it with because it's the basic chords are, well, they're just basic. And so flipping it around into that minor feel, I just thought it was kind of neat. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. A little musical math, some theory, and playing around with some classic tunes. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Enjoy the sunshine out there. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We hope you're enjoying the show, and we hope you're finding ways to foster wellness in the categories that are important to you. If you like what you're hearing, head to our website, letsbewelltogether.com, and then to the archives page. It includes a quick summary of the different segments of all of our shows back to the start. Have a look and see if there's something interesting you want to listen to, and listen to one of our past episodes.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
We found another interesting couple articles. Doesn't really matter what they're called. We just want to talk about the general concept. A topic that is close to Sheila's heart. What is that topic, Sheila?
Sleep. I love to sleep. And I'm finding right now, because of my work schedule, that when I'm tired at night, I go to bed. And John makes fun of me often because sometimes it's not even 8:30 yet. And I'm like, I'm getting tired and I'll go to bed. But what I'm finding really exciting is that I'm actually waking up before the alarm goes off, which makes me think that I'm getting enough sleep.
I'm pretty sure that our wedding vows included that I shall make fun of you continuously.
Probably.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I try and do that as best I can.
You did the one that was like, I shall obey?
No, I did not.
I thought you did.
No.
Okay. And I thought I had the one
back to sleep, John.
Okay. So anyway, what's really cool about these articles is these came out when the American Heart Association, I think it was back in 2022, added sleep duration to what they call their cardiovascular health checklist, or else life's essential 8. Mm-hmm. So really important things that you should do to take care of your cardiovascular health, your heart.
I really like this article because for me, sleeping was not about heart health.
No, not at all.
No, it was about being more restorative energy. And when I wake up, I go, and I can't do that if I'm tired. But this article talks about how it helps with heart disease in many ways.
Yeah, and if it's helping your heart, then why are we talking about sleeping on Move That Body?
Yeah.
Because to move that body, you got to not move that body sometimes.
Exactly.
And there's a couple articles, and both of them said that the conclusion is that you should get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night. That's what's recommended.
Yeah.
Interestingly, 63% of the people they interviewed said they get less than 7 hours a night, and 30% were getting less than 6 hours a night. So lots of problems.
Yeah. I remember a time when they were encouraging people or saying that you don't need that much sleep. 5 hours is all you need.
Well, I remember there's some quote by Napoleon or something, and there's people that say this, not in a different way, but something like 4 for men, 6 for women, 8 for fools.
Yeah, something like that.
But some people are like that. Like, oh, you're a weakling. You need sleep. I go 3 hours of sleep a night.
I know.
I'm tough. Well, maybe they are, but that's not my way to go. But the other thing about the article, it's kind of cool. We're not going to get into the science of it, but it explains why.
Yeah.
Like what's going on. One thing I did think was kind of cool, they talk about parasympathetic state and sympathetic state, and I don't really know what that means, but they said in kind of a neat way that when you're in the sympathetic state, basically your body, your nervous system is like girded for things to happen. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm ready. I'm ready. So when you're in the parasympathetic state, you can chill out, right? And guess what? things drop, including your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And they found what was interesting was, so when you're sleeping, your blood pressure drops about 10%, and they call that this dip.
Yes.
But for people who weren't getting enough sleep, they weren't getting that dip factor.
Exactly.
So there's other things, but the bottom line is there's actual real physical things that are happening with your sleep that are directly tied to your heart health. Another thing I think they mentioned was people who didn't get enough sleep had a lot of plaque in their blood.
Yeah.
And which is an issue for me. So
very interesting. So shall we read off the 8 life essentials?
Oh, good idea.
Number 1, cut out tobacco. 2, eat better. 3, get active. 4, manage weight. 5, manage blood pressure. 6, control cholesterol. 7, reduce blood sugar.
And new number 8.
Get healthy sleep.
Right. So if you want to do well and you're moving that body stuff, want to keep your heart healthy, lots of other good reasons, get lots of sleep. There's a thought. Popped up while running. I have for yet on another occasion started eating more disciplined, eating healthier again. It's something I have to keep coming back to because I do it really well for a while, fall off, and then have to start again. But I did start again. And I have been disciplined about what I eat, and I'm starting to get that great feeling in the morning when I wake up about feeling really healthy and my body feeling really energized. If the day before I contained what I ate, I only ate in moderation, like I'm supposed to do, eating in discipline. And I was going, yeah, this is really worth it. But how quickly we forget. So one day I just got swept up by a moment, a craving, ate a bunch of junk food one night, lots of sugary food. And the next morning, after waking up every morning for about 4 or 5 days in a row, feeling energized, fantastic, I felt terrible. I mean, I just felt awful. I didn't get that good feeling. I had a rumbly stomach. I didn't feel the energy. Just blah. And so, how can I keep reminding myself that, yeah, this craving, you've got this craving. If you eat this sugar, it'll knock out the craving. And that'll make you feel good for what, like 10 minutes? But if I just don't eat this stuff, tomorrow I'll feel great all day.
Yeah. So let me say, flip side of the coin.
Most springs, we get our backyard set up early and then we tinker away on it. This spring, we had a couple things going on. We coated the cement. So we got this sealant for the cement and we had to wait till the person could do it. And he had to wait for the pool to open. Anyway, long story short, it was a little later start. And then today, everything was ready to go. We had time. It was a weekend. So we decided to go work in the backyard, put a bunch of stuff up, put everything in place. Mm-hmm. It was hot.
It was hot. And it wasn't hot this morning or sunny. So I thought it would be a great day to do it. Like it's going to be a breeze and it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And I was thinking when we were doing it, both of us work pretty hard.
Yes.
And because we lift weights and do stuff, we can lift heavy things. Mm-hmm. So here we were lifting heavy tables and heavy other stuff and moving things and then lifting and all that stuff in the hot sun. And I was thinking, this is grueling. But a lot of times, like, I think I've learned this from you. A lot of times I don't let myself think of the whole job. I'm just like, I'm doing this job. Oh man, this is hard. I'm hot. Just keep going. Just finish this job.
That's what I think too. That's the way I do it. I don't think about it. Don't try and strategize. Just go. And slow and steady wins the race. Just get her done. But I feel like today, this is the first time that we've actually done it all at the same time. That
was what was surprising. So it all at the same time, unexpectedly hot weather.
Yeah.
And, the other thing that's kind of cool, and I think we do this often, we work together for a while and stuff we work together, and then I'll start tinkering with something that's kind of a solo job, and then you tinker with another solo job. Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of looking at, hey, how's it going? Good. You just keep working on your thing, and then you meet back up like 2.5 hours later, and you look around and the whole thing is done. It's like, this is incredible.
Looked great. It's so nice. And it was a lot of stuff that had to get done, getting the cement recoated and opening the pool and getting everything organized. It looks so nice. It's just, you forget about that space that you have outside. And then when you get it all set up and it's all ready to go, it's just so nice to be out there.
I'm so excited. And it's one of the things I do love about the change of seasons. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like our house just got bigger because now we have this area in the back that we love and we can hang out there. And this year, we talked a lot about dancing. Mm-hmm. So this year we're thinking we set things up so that we might be able to do some dancing in the backyard. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah. So we're really hoping now that we've got it all set up that we can dance around out there and maybe invite a few people over to do some dancing.
We were thinking about it. I'm also thinking about trying to do some kind of dancing once a week at a different location.
Right.
That might get going. But some of the people who we met at the dance class, it was a community center dance class, and we got to meet 3 or 4 other couples that we got along with. And maybe they might want to come over sometime. So we'll explore first to see if we can make it work. Mm-hmm. There's some areas beside the pool where I'm imagining that maybe aren't really that wide.
A little precarious.
I still imagine, for some reason, I have this image of me falling into the pool as we're doing something.
I know, that would be great.
It would?
Yeah, it'd be great. Hilarious. Well, first of all, it's no big deal. It's just water.
No, I guess depending what you're wearing.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be out there in a nice suit.
No.
But it's just water. So it's
and
not
all the
that
neighbors
big a
can go
deal.
by going, cuckoo, cuckoo.
Watching us. But that's the other thing I love about our backyard. It backs onto a park, so it's kind of open. But once all the grasses and the flowers and everything grows, it's pretty private. So you can almost have your own little private area and you don't see the backyard.
It does feel like a bit of an oasis away from everything else. And for me, it's a big deal because I used to commute to work an hour and a half each way. And so I just don't like commuting. And so a lot of people commute to cottages. Fantastic. I'm happy for them. Not my thing. So I love being able to slide open the back door. It's a walkout. And I'm in this little oasis. It's quiet. It's peaceful. But it took me 2 seconds to get to it.
Yeah, that's totally awesome.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
And it's sign-off time. It's Sheila here with John and Elise.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, we are back from Prague, a little bit jet-lagged. We came back yesterday and had to go right into work today, but we had a fabulous time. Prague is beautiful. We had a lovely Airbnb that was only 5 minutes away from John's conference, so it was really convenient for me. And it was very walkable, actually. Prague, Old Town, Lesser Town, New Town. It was easy to walk around and enjoy the sights, and the food was fabulous. So we had a really great time. I'm really glad I got to see it. And what about you, John? What's new with you?
I agree. It's funny, you think you should know everything. Of course, you don't. I had no idea that Prague was such a touristy city. I had no idea about its history, the fact that it has this amazing castle elevated pretty far above the river, gorgeous bridges and the old town. We did have a wonderful Airbnb. And of course, my conference wasn't until the end of the week. So we had almost 4 days for Sheila and I to spend time around town, which was so walkable. I also had a really good time. One of the colleagues at the conference, who was a past guest, Natasha Carew, who had run a marathon, she came after me. So I scoped out a route and I got to run with her. And it was the first time I ever got to run with somebody who read my book. So I was on cloud nine about that. That was pretty fantastic. It was really rewarding to meet partners of mine from all over the world. The conference theme was connect, create, and collaborate. And I think we're set up to do that after meeting in person. And I'm really grateful. On this episode, it's the second where we interviewed Fiona and Mike Roth, and they shared such important but also so personal stories. All I can say is I'm just so grateful they came on the show and shared that with us. So I really
thought
appreciate
it was absolutely amazing. I really sympathized with them, and I was amazed at how well they spoke and how informative they were.
But I'm not as grateful to Elise, who knows who's going to do a reveal, but she won't tell us anything. She's going to make us wait. So
I know.
With that in mind, hey Elise, what's going on with you? Anything new?
There is something new. So Stephen and I went for an ultrasound today.
Today?
In this ultrasound.
Just for the record, today is June 10th, 2024.
That's right. And in this ultrasound, we were able to find out the sex of our baby. So I thought it'd be fun to share it with John and Sheila over the podcast. So
and
this is
everyone else,
first.
nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Oh my goodness.
the first we're finding out. So Stephen and I are having a boy.
Wow. Amazing.
I was like, when you posted today saying our baby bear, I was like, I wonder if it's a boy, because bear and boy kind of work together. So you're having a boy.
It's interesting though, because I don't know why, but every time, we were talking about you being pregnant, and for whatever reason, whenever everyone's asking, I'm always like, oh, I think she'll this or her that. I always sure it was a girl for some reason.
Me too. I was sure it was a girl too. Already had
I know
names.
we were thinking of both of you because both of you were pretty certain it was a girl.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a foot in the race either way. We were kind of just waiting it out to find out, but super happy to get that news and to see baby growing and making sure everything's going well. So that was a really nice day.
It does just make things seem just a little more real. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's not quite so hypothetical, There's a real...
Yeah. Very exciting, Elise.
It is super exciting. So grateful that we got to do the reveal over the podcast. A super fun way to do it.
Yeah, you should tell people that if they want to find out, they have to listen to Sign Off on episode 124.
No, just say you have to listen to episode 124.
The whole episode.
Right.
It's in there
Make them
somewhere.
wait till the very end.
It's in there somewhere.
Would you like to know? No problem. Just go to Let's Be Well Together podcast, listen to the show, episode 124. You'll find out.
Exactly.
That'd be funny.
Any other news from you, Elise?
Well, on a less exciting note, something happened to me for the first time this past week, which was Stephen and I went to a movie theater and we were the only people watching the movie.
No way. No.
That has never happened to me before.
Okay, but so was it like some Korean movie with subtitles?
No, it was the new Mad Max movie and it was, Saturday at 3 p.m. It wasn't an abnormal time. But I guess people were just not at the Owen Sound movie theater then.
Yeah. I want to see that.
We were chatting throughout the whole movie and just enjoying ourselves.
You had it was like your living room, your whole big living room.
If only you had a blanket. But is that Furiosa or Furiosa?
Furiosa, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that. It was
excellent.
Awesome. Okay, well, I guess this might be one of our most listened to shows if everyone has to find out what they want to find out about Elise and Stephen.
Yeah.
On the episode. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next week.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.